Well, thank you for inviting us into your homes. We want to take you back to some old school worship and singing and praising unto our God. We're delighted to have Bishop J. Cortez on the keyboard, my oldest son, my second son, the one and only brother Julian Vaughn on the bass guitar, and the one and only backup singer today, Pastor Carolyn Vaughn, and yours truly, Bishop Jack C. Vaughn. Remember on Friday nights when they'd have Friday night service and they'd open up the service with prayer and scripture, and then when the minister would finish, he'd say, now we're going to open up testimony service and we need 2 volunteers. And those 2 volunteers would get up, and whoever could start out first would start out singing. They might start out singing, I'm a soldier. In the army of the Lord. I'm a soldier. In the army. I'm a sanctified soldier. In the army of the Lord. I'm a sanctified soldier. In the army. I mean to fight till I die. In the army of the Lord. I mean to fight till I die. In the army. Then they be thinking about how they've been hurting. You can't live this life and not be hurting. Somebody disappoint you, and somebody lie on you, and somebody do evil to you. And then they sing and add a verse to it. I've been wounded. In the army of the Lord. I've been wounded. In the army. I've been wounded. I've been wounded. In the army of the Lord. I've been wounded. I've been wounded. In the army. But I'm gonna fight till I die. In the army of the Lord. I'm gonna fight till I die. In the army. And then they finish singing and they'd say, now testimony service is open to each and every one of you who want to testify and sing your own song. And that's what it was, your own song in your own key. And sometimes if the musician, depending on how skilled they were, they might be able to follow you and they may not be able to follow you. Sometimes the musician would play in the only key until you got in the key that they could play in. And then they share their testimony, tell all their business, tell all the devil was doing and all the Lord was doing. And then they finish and they say, pray for me and pray my strength in the Lord. And then somebody else would jump up and think about the battle that they had all week and the battle that they might have been in right then. And then a song would come up in their spirit and they'd say, victory, victory shall be mine. Victory, victory shall be mine. If I hold my peace, let the Lord fight my battle. Victory, victory shall be mine. They'd say, joy, joy shall be mine. Joy, joy shall be mine. If I hold my peace, let the Lord fight my battle. Victory, victory shall be mine. It shall be mine. It shall be mine. It shall be mine. It shall be mine. Hold my peace. It shall be mine. It shall be mine. Hold my peace. It shall be mine. It shall be mine. If I hold my peace, let the Lord fight my battle. Victory, victory shall be mine. Somebody else would stand up and they had a glimpse of heaven and think about where they were going and think about all the troubles of this world would soon be over. And back then, saints sang a whole lot about heaven. And they had a heaven-forward mindset. And they'd say, oh, heaven, heaven is mine. Oh, heaven.
Oh, heaven is mine.
Oh, sweet heaven.
Oh, heaven is mine.
Oh, sweet heaven.
Heaven is mine.
Don't you want to go to heaven?
Heaven is mine.
Don't you want to go to heaven?
Heaven is mine.
And by that time, the praise is accelerating and the intensity of the presence of the Lord was there. They get to clapping and dancing in the aisle and dancing in the seats, and before long the whole church would be standing up, clapping, reeling and rocking, and they'd say, living he loved me, dying he saved me, buried he carried my sins far away, Rising, he justified me, freed me forever. One day he's coming back.
Glorious way.
One day when heaven was filled with his praises. One day when sin was as black as could be. Jesus came forth to be born of a virgin. Dwelt among men, my example is he. Living, he loved me.
Dying, he saved me.
Buried, he carried my sins far away. Rising, he justified me, freed me forever. One day he's coming back, glorious day. One day they led him up Calvary's mountain. One day they nailed him to die on a tree. Suffering, anguish, despised and rejected. Bearing our sins, my Redeemer is he. Living, he loved me. Dying, he saved me. Buried, he carried my sins far away. Rising, he justified me, freed me forever. One day he's coming, glorious day. Then we graduated and someone composed a song and choirs would sing it and people would dance and praise God on it, and it become one of my favorites. And it said, I can go to God in prayer. I can go to God in prayer. Makes no difference what the problem.
I can go to God in prayer.
Yes, I have this blessed assurance.
I can go to God in prayer.
He will take my gloom and sorrow, turn it into light. He will comfort, strengthen, and keep me.
I can go to God in prayer.
I can call
I
him
can call
when
him
I need
when
him.
I need
Our Father
our Father
up in heaven,
in heaven.
I can go to God in prayer. I can go to. Come on, clap those hands with us. Get up off that couch, dance, and shout in that room. Wave your hand in the break room if you're at work, wherever you are. Give him some praise. Give him some praise. Clap those hands, and let's give him glory. Sometimes my burdens, they get so heavy, Lord.
I can go to God in prayer.
Yes, I have this blessed assurance.
I can go to God in prayer.
He will take my gloom and sorrow. He will never, never forsake me.
I can go to God in prayer.
I can call
I
him
can call
when I need him.
I need
Our Father
our Father
up in heaven,
up in heaven.
I can go to
Can go
God in prayer.
God in prayer.
I can go to.
Can go to
Clap those hands and join me on this part. You got a problem you can't solve. You got a heartache you can't dissolve. I want to let you know he can work it out. He'll turn that thing around. Come on and praise him right where you are. Whatever it is that you need him to work out, he can do it if you praise him. He can work it out. He can work it out.
Yes, he can. Yes, he can. Yes, he can. Oh, yes, he can.
I know without a doubt he can work it out, y'all.
Yes, he can. Yes, he can. Yes, he can. Oh, yes, he can.
He'll brighten up your way each and every day.
Yes, he can. Yes, he can. Yes, he can. Oh, yes, he can.
You can call him when you need him. Our Father up in heaven, I can go to God in prayer. I can go to. Come on and praise him. Can we say it again? Just one more time. He can work it out. I know without a doubt, y'all.
Yes, he can. Yes, he can. Yes, he can. Oh, yes, he can.
I know without a doubt that God will work it out, y'all.
Yes, he can.
your way each and every day.
Yes, it can. Yes, it can.
Remember
Yes,
this.
it can. Oh, yes, it
You can call him
can. Call
when you need him. Our Father up in heaven. I can go to God in prayer. I can go to God in prayer. Oh, praise him. Hey, family. Carolyn and I just thought we'd come to you today, and we hope everyone is enjoying this time stay at home.
Well,
and we thought we would put some things together. Just some, what did you say?
I said we're done now. We don't have to stay at home anymore.
Well, we don't have to stay at home, but a thing or two. That's what we'll call it today.
Yeah, we'll call it
a thing or two about relationship. It's really been funny because during this stay-at-home order, you find out that there are some things that you didn't necessarily have to do. And some things you were doing, you're like, okay, you got all this extra time on your, on your hands at home, and it gives you time to refocus and reprioritize. And so I think that's where we've been. And so we just thought it well to put together some things to talk about relationships. Because we know husband and wives at home together, if one travels and you work different shifts, you go your way, hi, bye. You don't have time to really have, and a lot of times we think only of crucial conversations, but we don't think of just the simple things, the simple laughter, the things you look back on relationships and you go like, wow, like my wife and I, Carolyn, we've been married 44 years this year.
August what?
August 7th. We'll forget a lot of things went on. Oh my God, a lot of things went on that day. But the thing about marriage, you don't come in really back in our time, you didn't come in with a blueprint. Having counseling, we're sitting there with a pastor 30 minutes and he asked a couple of questions, y'all ready for this? Okay, good to go. When is the wedding? And so we've learned a thing or two. And one thing I've learned that you don't stop learning. You're always building. You're always working it out. And it's really something when you're in a ministry, and this will help those couples in ministry and think you want a pastor and you that are pastoring, and you have your times where you get so consumed in ministry and you forget about your own self-care or the care of your spouse, the me time or the our time, because it's the people's time that seems to consume you. And then that's an easy way to go to burnout. So we wanted to come and just share some things we've learned. And Coco's here with us too. You might see her come jump up because she has no idea of the camera. Right now the camera guy, Dwayne, is holding her down. They're becoming friends. So if you see her come, that's our fur baby that we have at home that Justin and Tonisha tricked us with and showed up one night and said, we need to talk to you. And we're thinking, okay, y'all having problems or something? Come in that late to want to talk? And they come in with this little fur puppy and say, can y'all keep her for a week till we decide on what we're going to do? Because they already had two. And it has been, 3 years now?
3 years.
So she is part of our family now. So she jumps up on us. Please understand. One thing I want to say that, in ministry, when I'm at church, as Bishop Jack, as Pastor Carolyn, but we're at home, is hollering up the steps, Jack! Where you at? Or Jackie, or it's Carolyn, or do you hear me calling you?
That's it. That's real life.
You have a life at church and you have a life at home. So I want to say to all the men, particularly you that might have two lives like we do, that when I'm at home, I'm Jack. I take out the trash, I do dishes, I run the vacuum, and we have those times where, and thank God our house is big enough that we can go hide from each other when we need to hide. We clap on that one. Go upstairs, so she's getting on my nerve today. Did you do this? Did you do that? And I'm for sure she's downstairs in her space and he is getting on my nerve today. But that can be minimal. But it's been a fun time. Staying at home's been a fun time. It's been a restful time. And looked like we worked harder with videos and getting content out than we did even when we were in the office. It's all been good. So church family, we love you so much. And couples that are at home, we just want to share one or two things about relationships. So Carolyn, what would you say has been a benefit for us during this time?
Through the years, of course, this year is 44, so we've experienced, as he said, quite a bit down through the years. And I will say one of the things that we've learned how to get better at is our communication skills. We communicate a little bit different than we did back then. Because I may have had, for instance, there may have been something that bothered me, okay, and then I'm contemplating all day what I want to say, how I want to say it, and all that, and hit the door. Listen, we need to talk.
We need to talk. And let me make a point, and that is something, ladies, please hear us, that sends a man into another zone.
I know, and it sent him into another zone.
Like, wow,
because he was not prepared for that. It wasn't just the words, but it was the whole body language and the head and the body. Like, we need to talk. That was like, there's a wall going up automatically. So it kind of kept him from that moment from really hearing what I had to say because of the way I presented it. So we've learned. What have we learned?
Yeah, we've learned, because the thing with that, when a woman says she needs to talk, she's got 20 things on a sheet that she has thought about because women are multitask. They can talk on the phone, fold the clothes, cook at the same time, and iron, do all of that.
Right.
They're like spaghetti. You don't know where they start, don't know where they end. Men are like waffles. We think in boxes. We think in frames. And so when she hits me with, we need to talk, I'm thinking, okay, what did I do? What have I done? And so you got to process, and particularly if you worked all day, you got to deprogram yourself.
Yes.
From that. I remember years ago, we've been married 44 years, and I was at corporate America working at IBM, and I think Carolyn was still teaching school, or she might have been home having one of the kids anyway. Whatever the situation was, she was teaching school. And so on one of those aftermath, we need to talk, I said, okay, well, I need to talk too. I'm a writer. You all see me in the pulpit, you go, oh, Bishop just flows. His teaching's awesome, because that's my vein. I'm a script writer. I was in theater when I was in school, so scripts were something that I loved. Closing the door, memorizing my parts, acting it out. So I could go in the room. So when I got to play rehearsal, we had to roll without any prompting, because your cue lines depended on somebody else coming in on time.
So what you saying?
So
Jared?
this is what I'm saying. So when she said we need to talk, I said, okay, then I need to write. And so I remember so vividly.
Oh, I do too.
My kids love it when I tell it.
I do too.
And so I had this legal pad, yellow legal pad, and I wrote out all of my frustrations, everything that she upsets me with, everything I didn't like, wrote it all out. And so it ended up maybe being 3 or 4 pages.
Yeah,
it was. Carolyn would leave earlier in the morning to go to work than I would leave early because I had to be at work early. She would go to school. So I wanted to make sure she read my letter, this anointed legal size paper letter.
From the preacher.
From the preacher, okay? And everything was, pretty much a negative on it. What you don't do, what I don't like about you, I don't like how you handle this. And furthermore, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I put it on the refrigerator where all of her little magnets were for her little notes and to do things. I said, she gonna see this. When she get up in the morning, open that refrigerator, get her milk and her coffee, she's gonna see this. And normally, when we would go to work, we check with each other, made it to work, how you doing, how's your day going? Yeah. And so I knew that by the time I got into the 24th floor on 24th and Grand at IBM Tower, I knew that I was going to get that call, and it was going to be a fight on, because I was looking for a fight. I wanted a really hot argument that day. And so she gets up, and I let her tell it, she reads the letter, and then she calls me at work, and she says, hi, good morning, how you doing? And I'm going like, hi, good morning. Did you see that letter? You're not supposed to be, saying hi and all excited about today. This is the day the Lord hath made. No, this is the devil. This is the day we're going to fight today on the phone. And so she says, how's your morning going? And I said, my morning's going all right. And you been downstairs for coffee yet? No, I'm going in a minute. And so she's going on and on and on and on. And I'm thinking, did you get my letter? And her response was, tell her what you said.
I said, boy, you so silly.
You're so silly. That's what she said. Boy, you're so silly.
I started laughing because the whole letter was
Did you hear me? She starts laughing in my ear after I have meditated opened this letter. She said, "You are so silly." She said, "You took what I said all out of context and misconstrued it. You went left with it." And she says, "I did not mean that the way it came across to you." Well, that's the way, that was my perception of it. Yeah. But my point on that is when you don't communicate along the way, things build up and you vent. And a lot of times things get misconstrued, misinterpreted, and then it just causes for blow up. But one has to be sensible enough to say, you know what? I'm not going there with you. I'm not going to explode with you. And we're not going to make this into something more bigger than what it was. So what she did, she crushed it. And that's what you got to learn in relationships. One thing that I've learned, and I've learned this from my wife, from Carolyn, she said sometimes a woman's not looking for answers. I know all the ladies out there, so I know you're going to share it with, say, come on, honey, let's look at this video with Jack Vaughn and Carolyn Vaughn. That's who we are today, not Bishop and Pastor Carolyn. But one thing I've learned, she said that women sometimes just need you to listen. They don't want answers. They don't want you to fix it. They just need you to be that listening.
And let me give you an example of that too. Mm-hmm. Recent. This was recent. Lord. But on the other from that incident. So the tip that we want to leave is from that incident is that if we had some skills back then whatever I communicated to him, then he would have had the opportunity to talk back not repeat back to me what I said, so that we could get an understanding that he understood. Right. But then we didn't know about that active listening and being not at all assertive and not afraid to say what it is that bothers you and the type of language that you use, so that you're not crushing one another, but just speaking how you feel. So we've learned those things down through the years so that we could get a good understanding. And it doesn't mean that we still don't trip up on it. We still do sometimes. Yeah, because what was it, a few weeks ago? No, let me finish mine. Okay, first. I thought you were done. So I'm not done yet. Okay, sorry. I think it was last week, we were in the kitchen and I was trying this new recipe for it was eggs. No, it was eggs, and I was making something new. And the skillet that I was using. It was the salmon you had in there, the fish. Oh, it was. And the skillet was not. It's an old skillet, and it wasn't really a good one for doing what I wanted to do. So he was in the kitchen, so I'm just communicating and saying, You're communicating frustrated. Okay. Yeah. I'll give you that one. Okay. So I was communicating that this skillet is burning and it's not doing what I needed to do. It's sticking. And so I was just telling him that. And so he put on Mr. Fix-It hat. Although he already know, I don't need you to try to fix it, and tell them what you told me to do. I said, did you put the stick all in there? And then that sent her, again, she's already frustrated, as if she's been cooking all these years and didn't know what she was doing. And you don't have to tell me how to cook. I didn't say it like that. You didn't say it like that, but that was insinuated in so many words. Very nicely frustrated. Nicely frustrated, should I say. Tell me how. I was just communicating. Just talking. And so I should have just stayed quiet and go like, oh, yeah, that's too bad. Yeah, what do you think you want to do about it? Or put it back in my court if that's the case. So, again, we will communicate, but it doesn't mean that we want you to put on your fix-it hat. We don't need you to fix it. We just want you to listen, sympathize, and say, oh, yeah, that is sticking, isn't it? Yeah, and I think one of the things that we want to walk away with today is that no couple's perfect. And, I really get offended when I hear married couples present this image that, oh, everything's perfect. Me and my wife never get an argument, and we just love each other, and oh, my God, and they just put on the whipped cream on top of the strawberries, and I want to you know what, be quiet, shut up, because I know that's not real. That's not real. You know, you might have an image publicly, but when you get home,
You are human. You have two
Right.
different personalities. Men, I believe, go through changes every 10 years, emotionally, psychologically, and even physically. And I believe women go through changes. Women, a lot of times men want to say, she's going through midlife crisis, but men have midlife crisis too. I
Yes,
want you to
they
know
do.
that. And
They
that's
do.
a whole nother subject and a whole nother
Yes.
video too.
Yeah.
But I think the key thing is there's no perfect marriage. And all you young people out there, I laugh at you sometime when they come, and I want Carolyn to kind of mention about the assessments that we do now for married couples, what we did not have when we were coming along, because our parents gave us the best they could give us.
Right.
They gave us what they knew, and that's the best. And so a lot of times we don't want to demean or discredit anything our parents got. I think that was the foundation, and principles are always the same. Methods do change, and I think that's the thing that we learned over the years, that there are foundational principles of marriage and relationship, of communication. And one thing that we've learned, and we came into marriage with, the two things we would not do, and that is physically become abusive and verbally
Right.
become abusive.
Right.
Never call one another out of their name, and never become physically so upset that you become physical with each other. That was a no-no, and that was a no-no in our house. And I'm from a family of 14, 10 of us that I know, and my dad always said that to the boys and always said to the girls, don't let a man put the hand on you, and said to us as boys, never put your hands on a woman to become abusive. So I really thank them for those principles that they share with us. But a lot of times married couples come to us, they're going to have this perfect marriage. You just got married 3 months ago, 2 weeks ago, now you're going to have marriage counseling. Really? Really? Now you're going to tell people how marriage's supposed to be? Really?
Right.
Keep on living, sweetheart. Keep on living, my brother. I know you love the Lord. I know you feel that you got all these revelations, and she's a woman of God that you ever dreamed. Give you 6 months. Give you 6 months.
It might
We're
take a
learning
little
each
longer
other.
than
So
that.
it's going to take a little longer than that. Give you 6 months. You're going to learn a whole lot about relationships.
Right.
So there is no perfect marriage.
None.
We've been blessed. We tell couples that it's not love that keeps you together, it's commitment.
Yeah.
But I just want to say, we're not perfect. We're still working on it. 44 years later, we're still working on it.
One of the things that we encourage those who are planning to get married is to go through some type of counseling, because the first thing that most young couples will say, oh, we talk about everything. I know everything, and he knows everything about me. But now you haven't went deep. You've just been surface talking, but you haven't gone deep. And the counseling sessions help couples to go a little bit deeper into discussions that possibly they have not. They've just skimmed over the surface. But in marriage, sometimes that surf, it'll take you under. But having skills to know what to do, sometimes we use them, sometimes you don't. But at least having those skills and things that you need to talk about beforehand, I believe it helps. And like Jack said, the communication is a great part of it. And he also said there are some things that we decided early on that we wouldn't do. And of course, he said we would not cuss each other out. We would not call each other out of our names. And there would be definitely no physical, because I am not the one. No.
Oh, no.
But we decided those kind of things. And so as we have grown and matured in our relationship, then we know the importance of even having couples do their commandments for their home. And one of the commandments is the same thing that I just said that we decided. And I can truthfully say, going on these 44 years, I've never called him out of his name. He's never called me. We've never used foul language with each other. He's never put his hands on me. So those things we've never done. We didn't cross those lines.
And it didn't say we weren't angry at each other.
No.
And the
no,
Bible,
no,
that's
no.
even scripture. The scripture says be angry, but sin not.
But don't
You don't let your anger escalate to the point that you violate one another like that.
And so on that point of communication, like you said, I would, back in the day, if I had something I want to discuss, I'd usually have thought about it all day. So he was unprepared.
Unprepared.
So what I do tell couples now that we've learned that when both of you, most of the time, both are working, it's two home jobs, and so we ask them to not discuss important things as soon as you get home.
Right.
Take time, if it's 30 minutes, an hour, give each other time to debrief from the day. Because you don't know what type of day that your spouse has had. And even for men and women, maybe they work in corporate America where you have to deal with a whole different set of things and then have to come home to disruption. That kind of throws things off balance. But to give each other time to just debrief, to relax, sit in front of the TV, have dinner together or something. But if there's something that needs to be talked about, set a time and say, you know, I have something that I would like to bring to your attention. Can we just talk about it a little later? Let me know what's good for you.
Right. And on that note, talking about men and women that work, and because neither one of you may know the environment that your spouse works in, because they may not come home and say everything to you. And as African American men working in corporate America, you have a lot of frustrations, or men of color, brown skinned men, a lot of frustrations. And when you see the games that are played on both sides, administration side, the marketing side, and those kind of things, you see the work that you do and time you put in, and then somebody else is compensated with a trip to Rio, and you get compensated with a dinner out on the town. Hey, I can take my own self out on the town. You know, send me to Rio. Right. You know, you're coming home. And so a lot of times in that setting, I would come home having dealt with things needed to debrief and deprogram myself from the day, and then to come home with, you know, okay, we need to talk, or da-da-da-da-da. And then what was so funny is that Carolyn wanted to experience corporate America. And so she came on a temp assignment to IBM Corporation where I worked. And so when she saw the games, even among those corporate women, and she would come home, you think she would cook first? Or you think she would take her? She said, I need to lay down. Tell them about your experience.
It was a totally different experience in corporate America. And I had an opportunity to go full time. But the stress for both of us being in that environment, I knew it wasn't going to be good for our family.
No, so it wouldn't have been good.
It would not have been good. And we had the three boys at the time, because I had not gone back to teaching after having Justin. So I'm thinking I'll try corporate America, since they had some, what was it called? The positions that were available?
They were like
temp assignments.
To help with overload.
And so I took a temp assignment, and that went over a couple of more months. I mean, the money was good. I got some things done that I really wanted to get done and all that. The money was good, but
And what was so funny about our corporate America experience, let me just share this as a man, little ego, masculinity type macho thing. My sister Alma worked for IBM too. So Alma and I in the mornings would get together, and we go downstairs to the cafeteria, get breakfast, get coffee and things of that nature, and we go to lunch together, spend time together. So a lot of people in the corporation didn't know that that was my sister. And so they were thinking that that's my girlfriend. And so they would see me and her together. So when Carolyn comes over, then they, word circulating, hey, that's Jackson, that's his wife. So sometimes all three of us would go, they said, man, he's a good one. Got his girlfriend and his wife going to breakfast with him. He is really pulling. So I just thought I'd say that until they found out that she was my sister and my wife. Okay, little ego here. Moving on, but that is so true. One of the things that you have to be, and we tell couples, is intentional. You have to make time for each other. And I know Carolyn had said one time, because particularly when you're in ministry, and my dad said, son, things in ministry are never finished. It is always something to do. And I remember one time, a few years ago, she said, sometimes I just need you to come sit on the couch and just be there. Let's just watch TV, just your presence, where we're not moving past one another all the time, going to meeting, going to this. And I think this stay-at-home order has kind of really helped us, because, we're busy. We have a busy ministry. Something's always going on. Both of us are full-time in ministry, but it has And we are really kind of enjoying it. Like some of the members have said, Bishop, I'm getting used to being at home, having church in my pajamas and my coffee. And I'm saying, okay, I'm getting used to one service and booking the body here, going home and having a good time. But what would you say to them, like, and being together now, some of the things that we would recommend for them to do? One is just talk, laugh. Laugh is one thing.
Yeah, simple.
Simple things.
Nothing that has to cost or no amount of money or anything. Just simple things. Maybe your lives are busy going back and forth, and you don't even have time to sit together at dinner. But one of the other things that we still have to be conscientious of is our phones, our cell phones, because they are always, I think everybody carries their phones with
Everywhere
them.
they go.
Everywhere they go. And his, of course, rings all
Not
the
necessarily.
time.
It will mean. And hers does too.
Let me just say that one more time. His rings all the time. So to be intentional, that means let's both turn our phones off. Let's turn our phones off and just have a little bit of quiet time, whether it's watching a favorite movie or something. Just to know, to me, that says you're more important than whoever may be calling.
Right.
So.
And then you sit in the same room together, and when you get a certain age, you go,
he goes to sleep.
You go sleep, she goes to sleep. We're both sleep, and the dog goes to sleep too,
Yeah,
and,
Coco goes to sleep too.
And it's so funny. What was so funny the other night, I was looking at the news, and I was upset about some things that I saw on the news.
Yeah.
I won't go into the details of those. And I guess I took it to bed with me, and I was kind of upset in the bed. And tell them what happened. You said to Coco, the dog.
So it's early morning, and Coco and I, we normally rise first and try to get out and get to the track or a trail so we can get our exercise in and all that. So we were up getting dressed, and then we hear him, Jack, just seemed like he is fighting somebody in his sleep.
I wasn't beat him up.
He was, we like, what? And so I said, Coco, do you think we ought to wake him up? Or do you think he can handle it? So we decided to just let him go ahead and fight it out, whatever he was doing in his sleep.
And then the next night, I made a mistake watching the same story again. And I just got angry. Why do people do what they do? And it was so funny because Coco gets up in the bed while I'm having this dream, and she's doing this to calm me down. Calm down. And when I finally woke up out of it, she's still patting me and takes her head and just lays it on my chest like, okay, it's okay. It's okay. So I'm endeared to her for keeping me calm. But a lot of times you don't know how much stress and frustration you're carrying until you actually settle down and relax yourself. So it's been good for us, and we pray that it's been good for all of you to constantly work on relationships. We're constantly working on it, constantly laughing, constantly, sharing things. And it's work. It's going to be work, and you're never to the point where you feel like you've arrived. We say keep those building blocks going. Dad would always say that a wise woman builds her home, but a foolish woman plucks it down. He said, but she has to have a blueprint. And he would say to women, follow your blueprint. And then he would say, but men, she needs some material to build with.
Yeah.
So
in other words, for me, it meant study your blueprint. Study and know your husband, know the man that you said I do to. Study him, because some things you can take for granted, and then there are some things that you can misconstrue. But if you study him down through the years, some things that might upset a young couple, it doesn't even bother you because you already know what's going on, because it's just something that you have already known or studied about him. And I will add to that, you mentioned about being intentional. Find out from each other, every now and then, talk to each other about what's important to you in this season of your life. Like for us, we are what they call senior citizens
Yeah,
now.
'cause you
We're
checked me on
called,
that because I was saying one time conversation, as young people, she said, baby.
we are not.
She said, you're not young anymore.
So we're senior citizens, and looking back, we were 22 when we got married.
Mm-hmm.
So we are most certainly not those 22-year-olds that we were back then. So keeping in tune with each other, checking in to find out what's really important, what's on your heart, what would you like to see us be in 5 more years, or just checking in with those kind of things, because you mature and you change. What you thought in your 20s is not the same as it is in your 30s. The way that you are when you have children in the house is a lot
Totally
different
different.
when they're all gone.
Empty nest syndrome,
Empty
I think
nest.
that's what they call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't call it a syndrome, because
Yeah.
it's not a syndrome for us. I don't think. Do you?
No, it's just that our sons all have keys to our house, and
Yeah,
now
that's
the
one
role
reason.
reversal where they think they can tell us what to do, and we're supposed to listen. Like one came in one evening, it was late, and said, "What are y'all doing at this time of night?" I'm saying, "It's our house, Stay up late as we want to. They're coming by to pick up something." But one of the things that I wanted to say is that as we're talking about being intentional and what's important, something I think that couples really need to look at is how long do you want to be around? A few years ago when we were in that crossfire of that drive-by shooting, leaving church on New Year's Eve, and the bullet
2000.
went right to where Carolyn was, right to her temple, but God performed a miracle and turned that around. And once we left the emergency room after they were trying to pick all the glass out of her face, and we drove up to our house like 2:30 in the morning and saw all the cars outside, and Carolyn had said something, she said, "This could be different."
Yeah.
It could be different that neither one of us or one of us be gone, which had we not, and that's a whole nother story there, drove
Right.
the older car,
Right.
we probably both would have been gone because of the automatic weapon. But we thought about, then whose things that you have, whose things
Right.
will those be?
Right.
All material.
Right.
All material, house material, everything in it, the little money in the bank, couple of dollars we had, all material, and so you got to look at what's important, because sometimes you never know what you have until it's gone.
Right.
You never know
right.
till that wife is gone or that husband's gone, and say, and so you don't want to have regrets to look back. What if they were here? I would do different. What if she were here?
Right.
But every day is a gift, and I think every day you need to be intentional. Like, what can I do to make this day wonderful for my spouse? One of the things that's important to us, and that's our health and fitness. And I remember I was dealing with a stressful season in ministry, and it was early one morning. Carolyn grabbed my feet and hit it, said, "Get up, we're going walking." It's like 5-something in the morning. I'm not a morning person.
And
She
I
is.
am.
She's a morning person. I'm the late night owl. That's when I detox. That's when I deprogram. That's when I meditate. And so she says, "Your line of work is too stressful. You need to start walking and exercising."
Right.
And it literally transformed my life. It has transformed my life, and I've been walking ever since, because health and fitness is our priority right now. How you take care of your body. When you look at the health issues, and particularly in this COVID-19, the most vulnerable, we're in that group.
Yes.
Matter of fact, my
Yeah, we
doctor
are.
has me
We are.
under strict restrictions right now, where I should go, who I should be around, because he
Right.
said, your age, you're most vulnerable. And I've always been respiratory compromised from a child. Some of you heard my testimony of how I came back from the dead because it was a respiratory problem that I had then. I don't know what it was. I don't even know if they knew, but they know I died. Everybody in the house knew I died, but God brought me back. So I've always had a weak respiratory system, and I have to be very, very careful even in this stage. So what we eat, how we exercise has a lot to do with your emotional, psychological, and
Yes.
mental stability. Would you say that?
Absolutely, and I think it really helps when we're both
On the same page.
on the same page.
Absolutely.
And we're both as concerned as the other. So in this season of our lives, as we are getting older, I want him to be as healthy as possible, as long as possible. And I'm sure he has the same sentiments for me. We desire to have quality of life. We don't know the end date or anything, but at least we want to have that quality. And we don't want to be, everybody has their why for the things that they do. And for me, my why that I try to keep up with, taking vitamins, exercising, not eating this or not eating that, my why is I don't want to be on a lot of medications.
Absolutely.
And at my age, moving into this year in September, I will be 67. So moving into those, these going to the latter in the 60s, I don't want to be on a lot of medication. So the only way that I know is to exercise and watch what I eat.
And then for me, it's pretty much the same. And I don't want to be guilty of saying one thing in the pulpit to the parishioners. EC know I'm very strong on health and fitness. We stress that. We even have people come in to talk about our health. I don't want to be telling you, your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost. You ought to take care of your body. And then you're looking at me not taking care of my body. So I want to model what I preach and teach. And, the gym, though they're closed, has saved my life. And so we're making a gym. That's a whole nother thing that Carolyn wants one of the bedrooms turned into a gym. So we're working on that because during this period, we don't know,
and they'll be open or
they'll
when
be
they'll
opening
be closed
or when they'll
again,
be closing.
so.
And we want to use wisdom. Just because they're open don't mean we go rushing up in there.
Right,
We want
right,
to make sure that that and everything says that it's safe. So that's the thing that, again, I wanted to model, to not be guilty of saying one thing and then not being an example of what I'm telling others. When I did go and had a lot of engagements that were planned out of town, so I went to my doctor during this COVID, right when we were beginning that,
Right.
and I said,
Yeah,
okay,
that
tell
was
me how I am.
November.
And so had a little call for something. He took the flu test, said, no, you're good with that because I had the flu shot. He said, but if you start feeling bad, I want you to head to emergency so they can take the respiratory test before you take the COVID test. And so it really blessed me because when the next day we did a video and Carolyn was in Oklahoma at a conference there.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know if because I had not had breakfast that Saturday or I started feeling a little funny and I said, you know what?
Or it's because I wasn't there.
Or because she wasn't there. And I said, let me just pull in here to emergency for my own self-satisfaction. And so I would know I'm okay. And so I went to emergency at Vent Hospital. And so walked in there at 1 o'clock, then leave out of there at almost 8 o'clock in the evening.
And I'm on the road, I'm calling
and I won't answer the phone because she's going to ask, because women are detailed, where you at, what you doing? And I don't want to lie,
So he don't answer at all.
So I won't answer at all. I got to answer, I got to tell you. Because if I had said I was in emergency, but you're not telling me everything. Let me talk to the doctor. Let me do this. And so the doctor said to me, she said, Bishop, your defense for all of this is going on is that you're healthy. You're fit. And every test that we're running on you is coming back negative. You are in good shape. And they were testing blood pressure, their blood work. And so that made me feel good to know that all of this time, taking care of myself, watching what we eat. I was a lover of Krispy Kreme. And then, Lord and behold, did not they build one around the corner right when I was being delivered from Krispy Kreme. They built one around the corner. And my test of temptation, yield not to temptation, for yielding is sin. And is that I think I went there once, and I've not been back because I got convicted that one time. I said, you can't go back. That's not good for you. It's not good for you. And then I tried to bring some in the house. I went to Hy-Vee, and I said, man, there's Krispy Kreme. And they had the donut holes right at the checkout, the donut hole, small package. And I said to myself, this is the way sin gets you. Hear me real good. I said to myself, donut holes, that's not the whole donut. So I ain't got to worry. So shoot, I'm getting some of those donut holes. I'm going to take them home. And I took them home, and I went like, dang, if she see them, she's going to throw them out. So I'm going to hide them behind the cereal box. So I hid them, how we try to hide when we're wrong. Then so I got it that morning. Sins will find you out. So I got it that morning thinking, I'm going to make me a cup of coffee. I'm going to have a few donut holes. It's going to be marvelous on this morning. So I get up, look behind the cereal boxes, and the donut holes are gone. They're gone. They're gone. And I said, now I do believe in angels, but I don't believe an angel ate those donut holes of Krispy Kreme. And so then the way our house is made, you come down the steps from the street, you turn the corner, there's the kitchen. And so I'm looking, and I hear this voice. Mind you, there's only two of us, and Coco doesn't speak English. And so I hear a voice said, would you be looking for something, Bishop? And I'm going like, okay, like donut holes? And I went like, Oh man, you know about doing the holes, and I knew she threw them in the trash, but they were not open. So I went to the trash. I figured they're in the trash. They're not open. They're still good. They ain't got no virus or nothing. They're still good. So I looked at the trash, and there is a new trash bag
Yes.
in the trash. She says, "I know your life. I know your pattern." I took the trash out. So you won't get them. So since then, I said I felt that was the spirit. I didn't say what spirit. Her spirit telling me don't do that. But we have rules of things that we will not eat, don't bring in the house, and don't tempt each other with it. And it's been a wonderful ride. I'm enjoying it. We're on.
Yeah, it's not to say that sometimes
We can't,
will like Mother's Day,
Or
we
cheat
had
day.
a special dinner,
Right, we'll eat
Mother's
sweets.
Day and all of that. So it's not to say we don't ever. It's just to say our normal routine, we don't try to indulge every day.
And so those things are just, little fun things we want to share. A little one or two things about relationships. And we trust that something we shared has been fun with you. You saw another side of us, and we just like to say to married couples, keep working on it. Love, sometimes people think love is what keeps you together. I'm not saying love doesn't have anything, but your communication, your commitment is what keeps you together. So we're in our late 60s, looking forward to 70s. And we're going to try to be as fit in our 70s as we are in our 60s. If you keep praying for us, we're going to make it. And then even in asking you to pray for us, we got to do what we have to do. And you have to work on what you know you got to work on. But you know what? It's all good. Know God's got you.
Yeah, and remember this as well, that marriage is a continuous process. Continuous. You never reach that point where you just got it all together. But it is a continuous process.
And a project always in motion.
Always in motion. But I always tell, especially women, that you're making an investment and one day it's going to yield a great return. So don't cash in your investment. In other words, don't let that go for someone else to cash in all that work you've put in. Hang in there so that you can get that return and you don't give it over to somebody else.
Yeah, it's cheap.
Train up.
Yeah, that's her Bible. Tell them what it is. Tell them what it is.
Train up a husband in the way he should go. And when he is old, he won't depart from it.
And I would just say to you, my brothers, it's cheaper to keep her. Thank you.